for the hat series, the first pattern I'm going to use for this series is McCalls 9551, and I'm going to try view A, which is not on the front of the pattern. There's quite a few hats in this pattern, so we're going to try view A. It's a little different, and we're going to probably make a couple more out of this pattern and we'll mix it up. As you can see, there's all kinds of hats to make, and it's going to be fun. So this pattern is designed for fleece, and it is for knits. I am going to try and make a hat out of wool and see how it works. So the sizes for this hat, you need 3 pieces or 4 pieces. So you have the upper band, the lower band, the brim, and the crown. So, and the 3 different sizes are the sizes for your head. So there's 22, 23, and 24. Where I'm going to make the 22. Hopefully there's not too much background noise. So I'm going to line these up and show you. It doesn't take very much fabric to make a hat. This one doesn't really need to be lined because my furnace is going in the background. Hopefully you can't hear that. So most of them are cut on the fold, so I folded my fabric towards the center. You only need one of these, one of these, one of these, and these 3 are cut on the fold, and then you have the crown piece. Because I'm making the size 22, I'm going to, I traced the center piece off so I can save my pattern. So I'm going to line these up on here. So that's how much fabric it's going to take, which is about 36 centimeters for 14 inches. So that's, so I'll show you, right around there. So what would that be? 1/3 of a meter? A little over? So with a 1/2 meter of fabric, it's a good way to use up scraps, or if you want to make a hat, it doesn't take very much fabric at all. And obviously you could probably use a regular knit to make this. This is just plain fleece, as you can see. This is the furry side. So I'm going to cut this out, and then we're going to sew it up, and I will show you how to do it. Now, it does say here, polar fleece, Berber fleece for the hats. This gives you a better idea of the different hats. And I do view A, and it says you need thread and single fold bias tape and some fiber fill. But I'm going to use quilt bat instead of fiber fill because I'm going to show you an easier way to do the brim. And you don't need any interfacing for this hat, so that's a bonus. So I'll show you the so I have this trim, which is like a ribbon, and I also have this. This is normally what I use to make hats, is twill tape. This is a Christmas twill tape because it has some glitter in it, and it doesn't say how wide. You can't really see the tape on this hat anyway, but if you can, there's going to be a little glitter. So I might use this one or this one, I don't know yet. But I didn't pay that for it. It's I bought it after Christmas, so usually it's much cheaper. So this was 60% off, and there's 7 yards. Make a lot of hats. So you can just use a piece of twill tape you already have, or a piece of ribbon. Okay, so let's get this thing cut out. Okay, we're going to stitch the band together. I'll do that right now. And change it to a large basting stitch, and on the unnotched edge, this is the notched, we're going to do some stay stitching. And apparently I've pulled it somewhere. Stop it. Stop pulling. I don't believe we're going to need to clip it, so I'm not. And we find our notched edge, our front and our center. Where did you go? I believe that's one. Where's the other one? I think that is. Is this one marked better? Yes. These are marked better. I'm making 2 hats, so. So we're going to want to line up, doesn't matter which one, center front, center back, as long as you get a center of one of them, because it's a circle. Alright. Should we do it this way? Probably not. Alright. I want to line that up. I don't have that edge marked. So, we will be doing that. There's our center front. Just like that. Just put a small clip in there. Match them up. Yeah, we're going to come and get in the picture, are you? Of course you are. You're not sleeping there. Don't you dare jump across there. Oh, she does. She's now in the cat hammock. Alright. That was Remy again. Being a pest. All right. So the only pin I put in was to make sure I'm keeping my circle straight. Do I have to clip? I don't think so. It's gonna line up good. So we're stitching the crown to the hat band. Depending how much stretch is in your fabric would be whether you would have clipped it, because you're sewing something straight to a circle. Right sides together, we hope. And I didn't. Too big of the stitch length. I forgot to turn it back, and you guys all noticed that, didn't you? All right. So now we're gonna clip the seam. I can tell by looking at this, it's gonna be too small for my head. Maybe. So you want to cut it down to 1/4. Make sure you're cutting your seam and not your hat, or your seam allowance, not your seam. All right, there's that part. Now we need to sew the brim of our hat on. Get rid of this. All our threads. Or I guess we're not sewing the brim, we're sewing the lower band, it's called. So we'll do that, which I have right here. I don't know where I'm going. Right sides together. And we're going to sew this together. And we're going to trim this to 1/4 of an inch. So fleece doesn't fray, so we don't need to worry about that. Then we need to stay stitch again, but on the notched edge, not the large one, the small ones. Increase our stitch lengths, and maybe I will remember to shorten it. Alright. So we have our hat. I sewed those seams down because I just like to, because that's the back. And now we need to turn it inside out. We get all our seams clipped. And we need to sew wrong sides together, like so. So I'm sliding the brim over the band of the hat. I'm going to line up my seams like so. And I don't think we need to clip because this is very stretchy, even though I did stay stitch it for some of it. All right. 1/2 inch seam allowance. I'm going to check and make sure we're all lined up with no clipped seams, and I believe we are. Maybe. No, I think we're good. The notches line up not too bad. I had already sewed it on backwards. All right. Let's see. So now we're going to clip this, and I know you're saying, what? See, right sides are together if you turn around, but then you get this big seam. So we're going to cut that. So I'm just going to tuck that in the hat, and we're going to trim this very close to the stitching. So now we're going to sew our bias tape over this seam. That is the next step. Now if you were going to line this hat, you would have done it just before putting this on, and you would have cut an extra piece, an extra crown, and an upper band, and you would have sewn that in wrong sides together and then sewed this on. Alright, so I'm going to start at the back. That's why I stitched that down, that way I know it's the back. There's only one seam, right? That's the back. So where's my bias tape? I wonder what this is going to look like. I sewed that on. I don't know. It kind of looks green now. I'm going to try this glittery stuff and see what happens. I can figure out how to open it. There we go. Oh, very soft. Very soft. There we go. Just trying to get rid of those odd, I'm going to cover this up later. Okay. So you can kind of see there's a center of your bias tape. We are going to just stitch and try and keep this in the middle of the seam. You don't want to pull it. This looks more silver than gray now. So the neater you do this and the slower you go, the less you have to take out. I'm looking at it, say if there's right side, wrong side. Alright. Too late. It's already on here. So then, all I did was cut my top binding a little bit longer than the finished underneath it so I could fold it over. I'm just making sure all that is stuck in there, so no, nothing peeking out. And now I'm going to sew across the top as close to the edge as I can. Try to keep it all flat. That's including underneath your seam, under here. Make sure everything is flat. I have a flaw in my tape. For the price of the tape, I shouldn't have a flaw, even though I got it on sale. Alright. Want to line up your stitching. 3 stitches is enough for back stitch. There we go. It's very glittery. Anyway, you don't see this part very much, but okay. Thread stuck to everything already. All right. So now the fun begins. All right. So we're done with that. We're done with the tape. That's all that we needed for that. Now we need our brim. So you may be wondering why it looks like the brim is a very flat piece. So we're going to sew these edges together, right sides together. And we're just going to stitch there. All right, now comes the tricky part. We need to stuff this, and then we're going to sew it shut like this. So instead of using fiber fill as it shows in the directions right here and just stuffing it with little pieces of batting, we're going to use quilt batting. And I'm going to roll this because I have this piece as well. These are cut off of, you just cut like a couple of 2-inch strips, or that's probably 4 inches, and then roll it. It might be easier to work with something smaller, but this is what I have. So I'm going to roll that, and that should work. Hopefully you were able to see that. So I'm just rolled that piece of batting. It's kind of like we're going to be doing piping. I'm going to place that down. And I'm going to leave this piece out a little bit and roll it over. Match up my seam. And this is going to be the hard part. I'm going to tack this in place before I change my foot, I think. See if this works. And put it on a large stitch. And you want it to be quite tight because this is what makes your hat turn, the brim turn up. Or it's part of the reason anyway. I'm just moving the camera a little bit. And I can't move it any more than that. Move the sewing machine. So I'm keeping that rolled up. And it makes a smoother finish than stuffing smaller bits. In there. So I'm going to cut this off, just hopefully level. So it's going to meet up with the other and try and get some of it to connect. There we go. That should work. Because you want it to be even, not all lumpy and bumpy. So there we have a nice donut now. So now that has to sew onto, that looks cool. So now we have to sew that onto our hat. So we want the hat to be inside out, as it shows in the picture here. Find our notches in the back. I want it to go this way. Line these up and these up. And you're thinking, well, how's that going to look like a hat? Well, you'll see. I should probably change the foot on this. May be helpful. Maybe. I never used to use a zipper foot doing this, but this foot is wider on this machine. So we want our 1/2-inch seam allowance, and we want to cover up the stitches we already did. You want to sew past your last stitching line. Oh, I've already gone wonky. Oops. Sorry. Oh, got a pucker there. Check your seams to make sure they're all caught. So now we're gonna, I think I got rid of that pucker. Yeah, I did. All right, get rid of these threads. All right, so we're going to trim this really close. And don't cut your hat. Almost did. I have no room to wave my scissors around. Trim that nice and smooth. Get rid of these threads. and smooth it off. All right, what do we got? Now, are you interested in seeing what this is going to look like now? So, turn the hat right side out before all the stuff gets stuck to it. We have a little top hat. What do you think? Different. I guess you can't either. So there's a hat. And they're fun to make. A little bit of a different hat. I can't see what I'm showing you. So there's a little bit of a different hat for you. So I hope you're going to enjoy this hat series. And that will definitely keep my head warm. Okay. See you next time. Bye.